The authorities believe Todd Smith stalked and murdered his wife, Katrina.
I've never felt that somebody was so guilty of a crime as I did in this.
They uncover suspicious GPS software on his computer. Now they just need to find direct evidence linking him to the murder.
And we knew that it was him.
Detectives learn about updated tracking software, and they get a second search warrant for Todd's computer.
To see if we can recover any additional information or evidence that could, show us more of that tracking information.
It's a success and a game changer for the prosecution's case.
We were able to pinpoint exactly where that tracking had been tracking.
This time, the high-tech software allows investigators to see a new detail.
The tracking device shows hundreds of pings, which is consistent of somebody walking.
That's right. On the night Katrina goes missing, Todd's GPS device appears to move from Katrina's vehicle to a person's body. And the coordinates show this mystery man is on the move.
Somebody leaving the vehicle, removing the tracking device from her vehicle, and then walking back to Todd Smith's residence.
Then detectives get a hunch and take another look at that home surveillance video recovered from one of the Smiths' neighbors. And when they compare the GPS movements to the video, get this, it's an exact frame-for-frame match.
The pings show as he's walking on the sidewalk. It shows when he's walking on the fields as he's crossing over through fields.
Detectives believe the video captures Todd Smith on his way home after he killed his wife. But why is the tracking device tracking Todd?
He took it off the car, and at that time, we believe that at that time he thought he was turning it off, and he turned it on instead, and that's when it started tracking him.
Yes, Todd's perfect murder is being perfectly recorded. But he almost got away with it, except for one final action after murdering his wife.
The biggest mistake that night, he plugged in that tracking device, and it grabbed all the coordinates.
But before prosecutors can charge Todd with murder, they need more direct evidence.
Proof that she was in fact murdered.
Then a grave discovery. A fireman is fishing on Illinois' Rock River and notices something caught on a log near the river's edge.
Curiosity got the best of him, so he boated over to see what it was.
It's the body of a woman.
It was very decomposed. In order to identify her, the investigators had to contact and look at dental records so that we could actually identify her.
Tragically, it's Katrina Smith.
It was very devastating to even hear that it was final then, it wasn't that she was missing and we could bring her home alive, that she was gone.
4 days later, the autopsy results are in, and the coroner makes a ruling.
Homicide.
And the manner of death?
Blunt force trauma. It was intensely brutal. Well, she was beaten over the head and body and then thrown into a river.
But how was Katrina killed? Investigators still don't have a murder weapon, or do they? That's when they hear a disturbing story from Todd's own children.
The defendant was there with his daughters and a friend to collect items from the house. The defendant ordered another friend to go collect the bat.
As in a Louisville Slugger aluminum baseball bat.
He was taken back and surprised and very upset that the bat was missing from the garage.
And where was it?
The bat was already in our custody.
And only Crime Watch Daily gets invited into the evidence room for a look at the alleged murder weapon.
The bat was actually against the wall in the corner of the garage, leaning like this. And there was blood on this side. It was completely consumed. He was very concerned that the police had the bat.
And when the blood DNA is tested,
Katrina's blood was identified on the baseball bat.
Now with the alleged murder weapon, Katrina's body, forensics from the computer, and video surveillance. The Winnebago County DA's office makes it official.
He was charged with murder, aggravated battery, aggravated domestic battery, and concealment of a homicide.
Todd enters his plea.
My client persists in innocence.
Our affiliate, WTVO, is in the courtroom as Winnebago Sheriff's Detective John Berg takes the stand. he recalls the defendant's odd behavior during their initial interview.
He was rubbing with both hands at the side of his head. He was looking down in kind of a motion like this.
Then, upon taking the stand, Katrina's secret lover, Guy Gabriel, testifies about the text messages he exchanged with Katrina on that fateful night.
Just said she was frustrated that he was grasping at straws and trying to talk her into staying.
And when it came to Katrina asking Todd for a divorce,
What she had told me about her apprehension to share and the reason she wouldn't share was because she was afraid of his reaction.
then prosecutors enter into evidence those infamous news interviews.
It's been horrible. I just wanted to come home.
A man who murdered his wife and took part in searches with the community, did multiple interviews with the news media. The amount of lies and deceit with him is amazing.
The defense claims there's no direct evidence tying Todd to the crime. Todd Smith's fingerprints and his DNA were not found on the bat or other evidence, and there was no eyewitness to the alleged murder.
The forensic evidence that linked Todd to the crime was more so digital.
But the defense appears to be grasping at straws, claiming Katrina's secret lover, Guy Gabriel, is the real killer. Telling the jury Gabriel's alleged domestic abuse record is enough reasonable doubt to warrant a not guilty verdict for their client. But there's a big hole in that story. Guy Gabriel's alibi is rock solid.
It was determined that he was at work the night of the incident.
Leaving as the only suspect the man who's been in plain sight the entire time on the local news.
Katrina was murdered by Todd Smith.
And in closing arguments, the prosecutor literally comes out swinging.
And at that time, he's pounding, he's pounding, he's pounding. She's down. She cannot defend herself.
Ms. Height-Ross took the bat and specifically graphically showed the jurors how many times he had to swing the bat to do the injuries and the damage that was done to Katrina.
After 3 weeks of testimony, a jury of 10 men and 2 women reaches a verdict.
The jury finds the defendant Todd Smith guilty of first-degree murder.
Katrina's broken-hearted mother rejoices through the pain.
We are so grateful to the verdict today. We finally have justice for my daughter, Katrina.
Todd Smith is sentenced to 59 years behind bars, which is a life sentence for the now 50-year-old. He plans to appeal the verdict, still clinging to his innocence, reading a verse from the Bible in open court.
King Solomon said, "Whoso findeth a wife findeth a good thing, and obtaineth favor of the Lord." In closing, although I am not guilty of the acts the state portrayed, I harbor no ill will toward you.
But while Todd sits in prison, Katrina's family looks forward to the future.
We want to just be able to move forward and just always remember Katrina and just celebrate the person that she was. Katrina was a beautiful person inside and out, and she really made the world a better place just by being in it.
To talk about the case and what could happen next, we brought in Crime Watch Daily legal analyst Jesse Weber. Jesse, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Smith got 55 years for the murder, 4 years for concealment of a homicide. He faced life. Explain that.
Well, that is basically a life sentence because he is 49 years old, and the judge said he will serve that 100%, which means he won't get out even for good behavior.
There were a few unanswered questions raised by the defense. For instance, whose fingerprints were on the bat? Can that help in an appeal hearing?
That's a great question. The most important thing that they're going to try and say is that the weight of the evidence was not substantial enough to support the conviction because A, his fingerprints weren't found on the bat. The fibers that were found on the bloody paper towels were not the same fibers in his apartment. There were unidentified fingerprints in Katrina's car. There was no direct eyewitnesses. So they're going to say there just wasn't enough. The evidence is insubstantial and flimsy to support this conviction.
What do you think the chances are that he gets a new trial?
It is an uphill burden for them. It is an uphill battle. So the chances that they will be successful are unlikely because the forensic evidence in terms of fingerprints was kind of flimsy. There were no direct eyewitnesses. But when you look at the history on his computer, he had a search history about bridges and she had been found there. And then the history with the GPS tracker.
Everything comes together.
It's coming together.
Legal analyst Jesse Weber, thank you very much as always. If you want more on this story, we'll continue to follow it on our website, crimewatchdaily.com.